Good evening and thank you for coming to tonight's informational meeting. My name is Oliveira. I'm the head varsity soccer coach at Chula Vista High School. I've been the head coach for the past 10 years. Prior to becoming the head varsity coach, I was the JV coach for 2 years. I am a graduate from San Diego State University where I got a degree in kinesiology, and I also played on the men's soccer team while I was there. When I was done playing, I became the assistant coach for 2 years. My values, faith, and beliefs. I believe in the golden rule, which is to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So basically treating other people the way you want to be treated. I try to live my life that way. I try to model that. I try to teach my players and students that. So I expect that from them. Also, here at Chula Vista High School, one of our mantras is to always do the right thing. So we expect that from all of our students and athletes and parents. Parental or parent responsibilities. Your number one responsibility is your student, your son. Make sure you know how he's doing in school, what his grades are, when he has a test, when he should be studying, making sure they're keeping up with their schoolwork. Also, their behavior in school. Make sure they're behaving in all their classes, keep in contact with your teachers, check on their grades. The other thing is also make sure they're staying healthy. They're getting a rest, they're eating healthy food, drinking healthy, and eating high complex carbohydrates, especially before and after exercising. The best thing is make sure they're eating something healthy within 30 minutes of practice or playing in a game. Another responsibility as a parent, really need your help, is making sure we take care of our uniform and gear. We are in a 5-year rotation, which means we get new uniforms for the varsity team every 5 years. So the JV team gets our old uniforms. So basically those uniforms have to last for 10 years. So please take care of them as much as possible. Also, help your student athlete meet his responsibilities to the team and coach. Know what's going on with him and what's going on with the team, and making sure he's following through, going to practices, going to games, making sure he goes to school. Also, very important, student athletes are not allowed to practice or play with an outside club or coach during high school season. Once he plays in a scrimmage or game, they're not allowed to play or practice with another team. The only thing that is allowed is that they can train with a one-on-one trainer, but if he trains with 2 people and the coach, it's against the rules. And if he is to play after that, we would have to forfeit any game that he plays in after that. So it's not fair, not only to him, but to the rest of the team. So it affects everyone. So make sure they're not doing that. Parental support. Please support the program. We're going to need your support more than ever this year. I'll get more into that later on during the presentation, but we will need your support. Support your son. Make sure you know what's going on with him. Sometimes he may come home upset after a game, a tough game. Either we lost, or maybe he didn't play too much, or maybe he didn't play at all. Talk to them, but encourage them and support them. Remind them it's about the process, not the result. So as long as they're doing their best and putting in their best effort, that's all we can ask of them. We're not going to win every game. We've never been undefeated. We've come close, but I don't expect that to happen, so we're going to lose once in a while. Just be there to support them. Not only support your son, but support all the players on the team. Another thing, monitor your student athlete stress levels. If you see he's really stressing out, maybe it's about soccer, maybe it's about school, friends, girlfriends, I don't know, but make sure you're communicating with him and know what's going on with him. And if you need to contact me and need help, or if there's something that I really should be aware of, please let me know and contact me either by calling me or emailing me. Also, help your student keep his priorities straight. He's got school, he's got family, he's got soccer, and whatever else might be going on. But make sure he's got those priorities in order. Also, let the coaches coach. That's what we're here to do. I have a lot of experience. All of our coaches have a lot of experience. We're with the players every day. We really know what's going on the best, more than anyone else would. So please let us do our jobs and just be there to encourage the team and your son and coaches and whatnot. And also encourage your son to talk to the coach. If he doesn't know what's going on, or make sure they're communicating with us. That also teaches him responsibility instead of him. If you hear your son coming home and complaining about, make sure, ask them if they talk to the coach. They talk to me or one of the assistants. And if he hasn't, make sure he does. That'll teach him responsibility. Parent conduct, very important. Please understand and display appropriate game behavior. Focus on good team sportsmanlike competition. Cheer on our team, not against the opponent. At no time should opponents and coaches be yelled at or addressed during or after a game. Please try to refrain from yelling at referees. We have some really good referees, we have some not so good referees. But even the good referees make mistakes. They're human, so please let's not yell at them. Whatever you say to them, and they're not going to change their mind. So just try to encourage our players to keep working hard. Refrain from negative comments about other players, and all players are doing their best. Game situations is very stressful. It doesn't help when parents or anybody's yelling at them, making it more stressful. So please refrain from doing that. Also, there's no noise makers allowed. You can't have whistles, horns, sirens, anything of that nature. You can yell as loud as you want and cheer, clap, stomp your feet, whatever, but there's no noise makers allowed. Also, meeting with the coach. Please adhere to our 24-hour rule. Especially after a win or a loss, especially after a loss, that is not a time to talk to me or any of the coaches. Please take 24 hours at least to cool off, think about what's going on, and then we can set up a better time, which is either before practice or after practice, but definitely not after a game. Also, you will be asked to leave games if guidelines are not followed. And the second violation will result in being prohibited attending any games. So please follow our parent conduct rules. As far as commitment, part of the team's 7 C's of being a champion. Commitment is one of the most important ones. The 7 C's, which we teach our players, is common goals, commitment, complementary roles, clear communication, constructive conflict, cohesion, and credible coaching. Commitment is probably the single most important factor that differentiates championship teams, athletes, coaches, businesses, schools, marriages, you name it, from being mediocre. Players must be at all practices on time, including during vacation time. They must be focused the entire practice with no distractions. And they must not play or practice with outside teams. Again, they need to be committed to the team, the school team. That is a CIF rule. It's not my rule, so we have to live up to that. Also, being committed means that they are not working during practice and game times. They're more than welcome to work on the weekends. If we don't have a game or practice, they should be giving their schedules to their bosses if they do have a job. And also, they must commit to the entire season. I don't believe in players starting something and not following through and quitting in the middle of a season or even toward the end of the season. Please make sure they're committed for the entire season. Practice and games. All practices start at 3 o'clock. on normal school days. During vacation, or if we have Saturday practices, those will be at 9 a.m. Practice will last anywhere between 2 to 3 hours. And also, one of my rules is if you don't practice, you don't play. Sometimes there's exceptions if there's something that's unavoidable, but make sure to communicate. If you don't communicate with me, I don't know about it, it's not going to happen. They're not going to get to play the next game. Also, there's no guaranteed playing time. There's not mandatory playing time, so some players may not play. Also, for games and practice, they must wear soccer cleats, shin guards, practice shirts, shorts, socks. Bring a training jacket, something that they could play in, and also bring running shoes to every practice. There will be times where we'll be running in the bleachers or around the track, so they'll need the running shoes. Also, make sure that they're bringing a change of clothes, especially when it's wet out. For games, I expect all players to be there an hour before game time with all their game equipment, cleats, shin guards, uniforms, warm-ups, and their bags. And always bring both uniforms. We do wear blue at home this year. It used to be white. The rules changed, so we're wearing blue at home and white away. But I always want players to bring both uniforms, especially when we're home, because if the other team does not show up with the proper uniforms, the home team has to change. And if we don't, we'd have to forfeit. So make sure they bring both uniforms. And make sure you're eating healthy before practices, after practices, before games, and after games. Lots of complex carbohydrates, and make sure you're hydrating with a lot of water. Player expectations. Your commitment to the team. Once you're on this team, I expect my players, they're basically no longer an individual. They represent Chula Vista boys soccer team. They represent me as a coach. They represent you as a parent. They represent our principals and the school, period. So make sure their commitment is for the whole season, and you're maintaining your grades, excelling in school. Don't fall behind, because you're not only letting yourself down, you're letting down the whole team. Be early, on time. Don't be late. If you're going to be late for any reason, make sure you communicate and let me know ahead of time. I expect effort and hustle all the time. If it's not there, you're not showing it to me in practice, it's going to affect playing time. Also, take care of your bodies. Rest, eat, drink healthy. That's your fuel. If you're eating junk food, you're not going to have good fuel. You're not going to have good energy for games and practices. So also take care of your injuries. Rest, ice, compression, elevation. All my players should know that by now. Always saying that. If you're injured, make sure we're seeing the trainer and doing the rehab that they give you. You'll be doing rehab at home if you're injured and at practices, so make sure you're following through with that. Behavior on and off the field. Like I said, you represent Chula Vista High School. If you're wearing that Chula Vista soccer shirt out in public and you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, that looks bad on all of us, not just you. And then again, following the 7 C's. Education and grades. Students must maintain a 2.0 GPA throughout the entire season to compete in high school sports. If a player is ineligible, they may not play until the next grading period, which means if they don't have a 2.0 when the report cards come out, they're not eligible to play until the next report card or progress report comes out. So some players think, and some parents think, that a couple of weeks later they bring up their grades, they can play again. No, that's not how it works. So you have to bring up your grades, make sure you're eligible throughout the whole entire season. Again, remember, this is a school team. It's not a club team, so you're a student first, an athlete second. School comes first, so make sure we're behaving and keeping up with our schoolwork. If you're keeping up with your schoolwork, then you won't be missing practices to do your schoolwork, stuff like that. Transportation. If you haven't heard already, our budget was cut completely for transportation this year for winter and spring sports. Basically what that means, we have no more buses for games, to or from games. So we definitely need parent support for this. Parent support is going to be very important this year because of that. Parents may drive your own students, your own sons to the games, but you cannot drive anyone else unless you turn in the paperwork that needs to be turned in, which is you have to show proof of your license and fill out the insurance forms to show proof of insurance, liability insurance, and that has to be on file with the ASB office, which is part of your packet to fill out. So I'm really going to need help with that, and we'll expect volunteers for that. Also, students may drive themselves with parent permission, but they're not allowed to drive other students. That's going to be against the rules. Not my rules, it's the school and district rules. And then also having to do with transportation, parents must be picked up from practices and games on time. So please know the game times, about what time the game will end, so that they're getting picked up on time. Otherwise, I have to wait around until everyone gets picked up. So I really don't want to do that. Spirit packs. We're going to have spirit packs for $65, which includes 2 practice shirts, 2 practice socks, 2 practice pair of socks, practice shorts, and 2 pairs of game socks, 1 white and 1 blue. If you want to purchase any extra equipment, you'll be able to purchase that through our Prime Sports website, or you can go down to their store, and you would receive 40% off all merchandise, actually Adidas merchandise, and 35% off any cleats or shoes. As far as fundraising goes, it's going to be very important this year. Some of the needs that we have are tournament fees, which are very expensive. Training equipment, like I said, budgets got cut. I originally had a budget and they cut that in half, so we're really going to need some money to buy more training equipment and training balls and game balls, all that stuff. Also purchasing player duffel bags. We only have a few left, so we need to purchase some of those. And also having funds for end of the year banquet, and with the banquet comes awards. Also, a couple other things that we need are warm-up pants. We do have warm-up jackets for everyone, but we don't have the bottoms, the pants. And then meals. So for tournaments, I usually try to buy snacks and meals for stuff like that. One of the main fundraisers we're going to do is called Snap Raise, and that entails all the players trying to basically need to come up with 20 working emails for each player, and the more participation we get, the bigger percentage we get back. So if every player turns in 20 emails, working emails, I believe we get 80% back of all the funds that we collect, and a lot of other teams have had a lot of success with that. So we're going to start that one right away, so please try to help with that. Get your family members to support your son in our soccer team. The more participation, again, the better we get. Some of the other fundraisers we'll probably do is some of the restaurants. We usually do Project Pie, where we get 40% back of all the people that we bring in. We're going to try to do that twice this season. We may try to do Chipotle restaurant also. They give a 30% back. And then Applebee's pancake breakfast, we get 50% back. And I believe the tickets are $10 each, but we have to sell at least 100 tickets. So please make sure we're following through with that. Bring your families to eat at those, and we get a good percentage back, so that'll be a big help. Also, snack sales at games. We'll need volunteers for that, so that's some of the parent support that we could definitely use. And then also sponsors, if you're aware of any sponsors, or maybe where you work at, your company would be willing to donate or sponsor us. I have a letter that I can give that to you with a tax ID so they can have a write-off. If they donate over $250, we would put up a banner up on our fence during game times. You can ask me more about that after the meeting. And then donations. We also take donations from anybody, basically. But basically, we need participation in all the fundraising. Please participate as much as possible. If you have other ideas that maybe your club teams have done that worked well, please let me know at the end of the meeting, and we'll pursue anything that works and the kids are more willing to do. Great. I'll try anything right now. And again, just parents, please support the program by volunteering your time, by helping with, especially with transportation and fundraising, by supporting and encouraging your son and the rest of the team, and make sure we're all committed to the team the entire season. I'm honored to be coaching your sons. I look forward to a fun, successful season. Thank you for your time, commitment, and support. Thanks again.